Welcome to this edition of Plymouth Profiles. Plymouth Profiles is an opportunity to interview people from the local greater Plymouth area. And I'm delighted to have as our guest today, Mathew Muratore. Matt is a selectman in the town of Plymouth, and he's with us today currently as a candidate for state representative in Plymouth. Welcome, Matt.
Welcome. Thank you, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Matt, thanks for being here. So you've been here before in the past, but today we have you as a candidate in the upcoming November election. But people who may not have met you or know you, tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. Well, I was born in Caribou, Maine. I was the only one in my family born outside of Massachusetts. My father was a radio disc jockey at an AM drive in Brockton, and then got transferred to Caribou, Maine. Moved back to the South Shore when I was 3 years old and grew up on the South Shore, mainly in Rockland. Went to Cardinal Spellman High School, graduated from there. Went to Northeastern, got my degree in business management. Became a nursing home administrator in 1991. I've been involved in nursing homes as a dishwasher. I started back in 1977 and have been involved ever since. As I said, became a licensed administrator in the Commonwealth in 1991, and I'm currently the administrator of Plymouth Rehabilitation Healthcare Center. For those folks that have been here for a number of years in Plymouth, it's the old Mayflower Nursing Home. For those that just moved here in the last 15 years, it's the old Radius Healthcare. So I've been there for 12 years. I've been the administrator there, and I'm also, as you said, a selectman in Plymouth and have been since 2010.
So Matt, you mentioned your father was a disc jockey. So is that how you happen to get your interest in radio and TV?
Not at all. Believe it or not, I as a kid, I was very shy. And I would be the one in the classroom that would never raise my hand, always afraid to sort of make a mistake, so I never really spoke a lot. And doing this is always, I always get nervous before I do these, but it's my way of just kind of working through the process and just being out there and doing the best I can with it. So yeah, I'm really shy for the most part.
Shy?
Yeah, people don't know that. No, it's true. It's true. It's true.
So you mentioned your father. What about your family?
So I have three other brothers. I have a younger brother and two older brothers. My mom passed away back in 1987, and I have 6 daughters. My oldest daughter she'll be 30 in January, and she's a nurse. My second oldest is a daycare teacher. She went to school for Bridgewater and became a early childhood development director. And my daughter Alexis goes to the junior high, to the middle school. Emma goes to the charter school. And I have 2 younger ones, Kenzie and Peyton, that go to the South Elementary School. So they're scattered everywhere.
Good, good. And you're married?
Yep. My wife, Kristen. We've been married since 2001, and she's an attorney with your office. I think she's been there about 10 years now. And, 11 years. 11 years now. And, I'm probably better known as Kristen's husband more than anything else. When we go out together, that's what... people will say, and then I want to buy myself, oh, you're Kristen's husband. I said, yes, that's who I am. So I think I'm better known as that.
Or Kenzie's father, Emma's
yeah, exactly,
father.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So, Matt, tell us a little bit about your work at Plymouth Rehab.
Sure. Nursing homes have evolved over the years. As I said, I started back in 1977 as a dishwasher and kind of worked my way up over the years and did a lot of different roles, from receptionist to business office to maintenance to housekeeping. I did admission work, a lot of different things I did over the years. And but it's what I like to tell people, it's not your grandmother's nursing home anymore nowadays. Nowadays, it's sort of like hospitals were maybe 15 years ago. Because hospitals now, you don't stay long anymore. Procedures that are done are usually done in outpatient right now. Like we just heard, Mayor Walsh had a kidney stone removed yesterday. It was in and out in the same day. 10 years ago, you'd be in for 2 or 3 days before you get discharged out. So what we are now is, as nursing facilities, we're more rehab centers. So a big part of what we do are short-term rehab for people who have knee surgery, hip surgery, any surgery that they still need a few days of rehab before they go home. We do about 400 admissions and discharges a year now in the nursing home industry, whereas 15, 20 years ago, if you did 20 admissions and discharges a year, that'd be a lot. And the reason you were probably doing those is because people pass away and you have to fill the beds. So it's a totally different realm of what we do now. Out of the 176 beds we have, 60 beds are just long-term. Again, 15 years ago, probably 150 of those would be long-term beds, but not anymore. The rest, we have a behavioral program, we have a dementia program, we have as I said, the short-term program. We have a pediatric program, which is a little specialty that we have as well. And we just started an outpatient program as well. So we're trying to branch out to cover all sorts of health care so that we can be a continuum of care for everyone. So anybody who comes now for rehab, and they're under the medical directorship of Dr. Scott Oliver for rehab for ortho or hips. And if they want to do their outpatient rehab after they leave the inpatient with us, then they can continue on with the same therapist. So that's a new addition that we added this year.
So historically, I certainly had clients who were at Mayflower and they were elderly, and I had a 93-year-old woman spend the last couple of years at your facility and since transferred to be closer to her family. But it seems to me that you are now at times a way station, that people are in the hospital, they're discharged, they come to you, and then they may leave and go home or go to an assisted living facility.
Sure, and we encourage that, and people always, they seem funny to hear me say that, but we don't want people to stay long term. Our goal is to get you back in the community. And whether it's an assisted living, whether it's home with HMOs, healthcare services, whatever we can do to get you home, that's where people should be. And it's not just us that believe that. I think the whole industry has actually turned that way as well. And yeah, I know who you're talking about. She was a great resident for us, and but we're glad that she's closer with her family now too. So that's always a good thing.
And my other client, who was here last year, was in his 40s, and unfortunately he had liver disease. He did go to assisted living, and has since passed on. But I know that the family was very grateful that there was a place for him to go after the hospital, because he really wasn't able to go back home because he lived alone. His mother had passed away just a few weeks earlier, and he had been living with his mother, so he was not really ready to live on his own, and in fact left your facility and went to assisted living. So from the family and the patient's point of view, it was very helpful to have a place to go rather than just be discharged from the hospital to be alone at home.
Sure. And, I was mentioning this to somebody over the weekend too, that our average age of people that were in the nursing home 15 years ago, 10 years ago, was probably 86, 87 years old. Now it's the mid-70s. So like you were just talking about the 40-year-olds, I mean, there's a lot of younger patients that we see now in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. I think that's probably more common than the people that are 80s, 90s, and 100s, because those people are either staying home longer with services or they're going to an assisted living, which is probably the right thing to do.
And I don't know, it's probably a combination of things. Certainly, as you said earlier, the hospital's discharging earlier, but also it may be the awareness or the realization on the part of people, younger people, that sometimes they're not ready to go home, and there are places for them to stay, to rehab.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's awareness out there, and I think the hospitals are aware of that now more so, because that's where we get probably 95% of our patients are from the hospital. So I think hospitals are more aware of that now as well. And it's actually a good relationship we actually have with the hospital, because they know as a nursing facility they can send us some difficult people, and we'll take them and we'll figure out how to get them back in the community. Whereas probably years ago, it used to be the hospital discharge planners would have to try to figure all that out and use a lot of resources to do that. But we'll send them to us, we'll get them better, and then we'll get them out. So I think we're seeing more that way now. And one of the things that happened to us when we got bought back in September of 2012 by Athena Health Systems is we changed the name, and we changed it to Plymouth Rehabilitation Healthcare Center. Whereas before, under Radius, it was called Radius Healthcare Center and Rehab. But it's really stressing the rehab part of what we do and what the whole industry does now.
And in part, is this part of being consistent with what's going on, as you said, in the healthcare industry and insurance, where people are not being held at hospitals as long, and there seems to be a trend towards wellness and preventative care, and basically trying to keep people healthy enough so they don't have to spend time in the hospital.
Correct.
Which must be a lot more expensive.
It's a lot more expensive. I think the average cost in a hospital on a daily basis is somewhere between $1,200 and $1,400. For us, it's somewhere between $400 and $600. And we have the same nurses, the oversight by physicians, et cetera. So we don't have the labs or the X-rays in house, but we send all that out, or we have X-rays that actually will come in. So that's some of the overhead that the hospitals have that we don't have, but we have access to all that to do that. So.
And do you still have pediatric?
We do. We have a small portion of pediatric. We have just met recently and kind of redraw how we actually do that unit. It's a 31-bed unit. It's more of a specialty unit now. Everyone is totally dependent on the care. There's a lot of brain injury involved. The actual under the age of 22, which is how the state defines pediatrics, are 8. By the first of the year, there'll be 6. Because 2 of them are turning 22. So the majority of that 31-bed unit is over the age of 22, between 22 and 49. So we see a younger population there, but totally dependent care. So it's more of a specialty unit that we have, and we're probably going to be coming out with a name change of it somehow down the road, because the kids that you saw 10 years ago coming in are not. Again, same thing, home care. They're staying home with home care, with better services, so they don't have to come and live out the years with us.
As an elected official, you bring to the table, if you will, your training. And so as town moderator, I bring my legal training to the position, and often I find that very helpful when I'm ruling on motions and making decisions, trying to interpret bylaws and various procedural issues. How have you brought your background in healthcare and working with seniors to your position as selectman and a Plymouth town official?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting combination to have. I think it probably helped me to get elected initially. Of course, my wife with her name helped as well.
Of course.
But I think having the healthcare background definitely helps. I think being involved with the senior center before I became a selectman, I was actually on the board of directors of the Council on Aging, so I got to meet a lot of the seniors there, and there would be a lot of seniors I would talk to on an individual basis about different issues that they may have, or their loved ones may have, and kind of guide them through on what to do. And I think it's like anything; it's relationship building and it's trust. And nursing homes didn't always have a good reputation. So I think over the last several years, I think, at least in this area, I've helped to try to build up the reputation, not just of Plymouth Rehab, but what we do in nursing facilities overall, whether it's Life Care or Golden Living or Bay Path and Duxbury, but what we actually do. And it's really about not coming anymore to live out the rest of the years. It's coming to get you better and get you home.
So you kind of alluded to serving on the board at the Council on Aging?
Yes.
So tell us about your involvement with the Senior Center. You mentioned that when you first came to elective office or started serving the town, that it was not a new Senior Center, and since then it's opened.
Yeah, when I first, it was 2005 when I was appointed to the Council on Aging board. Arlene Droege was the chair of the board at the time. And her and Connie O'Brien was the vice chair at the time, and they welcomed me into the board, and I was the youngest one on the board at the time. And
are you still the youngest now?
No. It was I remember the first meeting. We had it at the on Court Street, in front of where the Chamber of Commerce is right now. The building,
Court Street,
the building is torn down now. But I remember meeting there and them talking to me about we need a new senior center. You're going to help us with that, and this is what you're. So they really grabbed me right away and said they didn't have a choice. Didn't have a choice about it. But when you walked around there and you saw what they had there, and we had to kind of take baby steps towards. So we really initially had to get out of where we were. It was a death trap for people to walk. It was not.
No.
It wasn't handicap accessible.
Dark.
It was dark. It was dreary, and they did the best they could with what they had to work with. But we really needed to get them out of there, and they had a good plan put together, though. Then the new high school came to be. That they needed a debt exclusion for the new high school, and it was well, why don't we go work with the seniors and the high school together. Let's get a debt exclusion for both.
Bundle it.
Let's bundle as one. And I'll tell you, I personally believe that's how the new school debt exclusion passed, because the senior center was on there. And who else goes and votes usually is about the seniors. Yeah. So, and that's not how it came to be. But we still had to do something in between. That's how I moved to Cordish Park.
So tell us today, are you pleased with that senior center?
It's wonderful. I think anybody who has not gone there should go there and take a walk through. And again, it's the buildings. It's a great environment, but it allows them to do a lot more programming. And it's now open into the evening as well, so people can have access to the evenings. I know there's like Fong Chili, she does Tai Chi. There's a lot of things that are going on, and it's structured. You still have your bingo if you want to do your bingo. But there's also other sort of activities like Tai Chi or other exercise programs that go on for the younger seniors as well. So there's something for everybody now. So it's not like, and we always struggle with the name calling it Senior Center, because even seniors don't like that. Even seniors that are in 80s don't like it. It's called Senior Center. But it does give, if you're 60, 65, 70, there's plenty for you to do there. Plenty for you to do there.
I was going to ask, when you say younger seniors, I mean, I have to say...
You're a younger senior.
I was going to say, I'm a younger senior. I actually go there each month to volunteer, providing legal advice. But I was initially surprised when I went there and some of my contemporaries would be coming in. I hadn't really don't really think of myself as someone who has that facility available, and yet clearly, my contemporaries are there and using it, as well as you said, people in their 80s.
Yeah, I don't think that would have happened without this new senior center, though. When we were at Cottage Park, you didn't really see that. It was mostly an older population.
People are more comfortable. There. It's almost like going to the library.
Exactly. Exactly right. Yes, they're more comfortable going there. And you also get a lot more people that are volunteering as well. So even the younger seniors are coming to help volunteer there and provide programs, whether it's art programs or computer programs or whatever it is. So, it is nice to see how the populations are meshing together.
So we talked a little bit about mentioning you were a selectman. So how did that all come about?
Well, it's funny. I was on the finance committee, as you appointed me to the finance committee in 2005, which is the same time I got appointed to the Council on Aging. It was in 2009. I think it was a Springtown meeting. I was walking up to the podium. I was vice chair at the time, and I believe I might have been chairing that committee, that particular meeting. I'm not sure. Bill Driscoll may have been sick or something. And I remember Karen Buke sitting in the front of the auditorium. And she pulled me aside, and she said, come here. And she called me over. She goes, you've got what it takes to be a selectman. You should think about that. And that was the first time I actually thought about it. And I think it was a couple of weeks later, I went to a selectman's meeting for something, and David Malaguti, the former selectman, pulled me aside afterwards. And at that point, he had announced that he was going to be retiring and not running anymore. And he said the same thing, that I should think about doing that. And it was the fall of 2008. I think that's when it was. And then John Mahoney, who was a current selectman, we served on the finance committee together. He approached me as well. And all this happened within a short period of time. Bill Hallisey was on the board at the time, approached me as well. And then Chris and I started talking about it and kind of checking it out to see what it takes to run a campaign and be a selectman. And here I am.
That's when we first elected?
2010.
2010.
Yeah.
And in your second term?
My second term, yes. Yeah.
And what are some of the highlights of serving on the Board of Selectmen?
I tell people I really enjoy it. I love being a selectman. I think it's a lot of work campaigning. I'll be honest with you. That's a tough part. But because I like doing the work. I really enjoy doing the work. I like working with people of all different backgrounds to solve whatever issues we have. One of the things I'm proudest of is the guiding principles that we put together as a board about 3 years ago, which really talked about 9 different areas of how we conduct our business in the town of Plymouth, not just the selectmen, but all committees and boards. And I think that allowed us to do so much more to better our community. Being the trash debate we have with trash, curbside or going to the dump, and what we decided there, or the landfill. The old courthouse with the Plymouth Redevelopment Authority. That project had been stalled for a while, but we got together with the PRA and we were able to work on a plan. And I don't think any of those things could have happened without the foundation being there, those guiding principles. And so I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of some of the things that we've done over the last few years. New town hall, actually going to that location and really building up the downtown area.
When will that new town hall get started?
They're going to start demolition before the end of this year in the back of it, and I think it's going to take about 2 more years before it's all built up, but probably by 2017, 2018 it should be operational.
When you talk about demolition, what part is being torn down?
So you have the facade of the building, and then there's some portions back there. The courthouse will be still remaining. But everything beyond that, so the
Well, the
old
county
police station, the
commissioners
county
and-
commissioner building, yeah. So they're going through, and I believe it's Diana O'Brien from the library is actually going through and looking through all the archives and see what we can keep, what doesn't need to be kept, and there's a lot of historical documentations in there that have been there over the years, and we need to figure out what we're going to do with a lot of that.
It's interesting that when the county moved out, that they didn't take all that with
Well,
them.
they have taken some of theirs, but there's also some things from the town that are there as well. So we're working with the county on some of that, and then the question is, what are we going to do with it? Somehow, I know Chairman Tavares wants to have some sort of a room or something dedicated in the new courthouse for old documents and things, presents that have been given to us over the years by different countries and stuff. So we're working on that.
And were these things stored in a vault, or they just?
I believe most of it's stored in a vault. Yeah. There's a huge vault that they have down there.
And of course, I practiced law there for many years in both the district court and superior court, both of which.
Did you
were
see Daniel
located-
Webster? Was he there?
No, he wasn't. Well, actually, there's an attorney now, Daniel Webster from Marshfield, so yeah, I've seen him. But
Good comeback.
but not the first Daniel Webster. But do you know yet, or do we know yet, what's going to happen with those courtrooms?
The courtrooms are going to stay, and I believe it's going. Don't quote me on this, but I believe it's going to be pretty much set up the way it is, and be like a meeting room.
Nice.
Yeah. So I think they're going to try to preserve a lot of that. But remember, $5 million of the $35 million came from community preservation, and it's really preserved that front building.
Right. That'll be some really nice hearing rooms.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. We've run out of rooms, as you know, in town hall. The people are fighting for space every night. They can't get it. So this will allow for more rooms.
And parking.
Parking, yes.
There's no parking.
Yeah, no. There's something like 90, I think something like 90 employees at town hall, and there's like 42 parking spaces, no matter the people that come during the day. So this will allow for a lot. I think it's like 135 parking spaces they'll be at the new town hall, so in and around
more.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be better. So,
Yeah.
So Matt, you mentioned earlier Feng Chili working at the senior center, and you've gotten to know her through your work at BNI. Tell us a little bit about BNI.
Yeah, BNI it's called Business Networking International, Pine Hills. I believe you started, was it you and Jeff Cullen?
I didn't start, but I was an
soon
early
after
member,
that,
right,
yeah,
yeah.
because I came soon after as well with you. But it's probably started around 2010, somewhere around there. And we meet at the Mirbeau every Tuesday morning. And I believe there are 3 or 4 groups in Plymouth, BNI groups in Plymouth. And it's all about business professionals getting together from different categories and trying to help market each other's business. For me, it's been helpful being the only nursing home in the group and being the only healthcare person in the group. It has helped me in a lot of ways. I know you have given me some people to treat for rehab and for long-term care. The outpatient program, we're getting people for the outpatient program as well. And it's not just people within the group that actually come and take care of you and participate in your services. They help you get services from other people as well. So they're like your marketing team. And particularly for a small business, it's great to have a group like this. I mean, we have a plumber in there, electrician in there, all different categories we have. I think there's like 40 or 45 of us now. And it's just everyone helping each other, through these meetings every week, through one-on-ones, functions that we have together. And it's about relationship building and knowing the person, building a relationship with them, and then trusting with their business and what they're going to do to help others. So if you have the roofer, guy, if you're going to recommend him, you want to make sure he's going to do a great job for you because you're recommended him. So there's a lot of check and balances there, and it really works well.
So in your position as an elected official, you're involved in this networking group involving businesses. Has that helped? I mean, do you get feedback from these members that's helpful to you as an elected official? Yeah,
absolutely. And it was really helpful, particularly this time around running for a year and a half ago, and I ran for selectman again. Because again, you know these people on a personal level now, so you get a lot of people that help during the campaign. Running for state rep, I have a lot of them that are helping during this as well. So it's not just for business, but it's for everything else. And of course, they have opinions on things that happen on Tuesday nights, and so I'll hear those. But it's good. It's good to get the feedback from people and their thoughts and how they think their town government's working or not working.
So you're really out there, not isolated, but hearing your constituency.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you're wearing a pin on your lapel. What's that?
This is Rotary.
Okay.
And another group you got me involved with. You got me
Okay.
involved in a lot of stuff now that I think of
yeah,
it.
right.
Rotary, it's a great group. It's a lunchtime Rotary at the John Carver Inn. And I believe I joined that in 2010 as well, 2009. And great group of people, service above self. It's always working out in the community. One of the biggest things we do is the auction every year. But we have the Polar Express that's coming up too in December. We raise, probably $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 a year, and all of it goes back to the community. Every single penny goes right back in the community, which is the best part of what we do. And we have probably about, I have about 50, 60 active members that come every Monday.
And every once in a while, there are some international needs, and you were involved once, both in your role as a Rotarian and as a selectman.
Yeah. Yeah, that was that came about pretty quickly. We had I had just gone to Shishigahama, Japan in October of 2010, soon after I got elected to the board, and went with former Selectman Quintal, and it was the 20th anniversary of the signing, and it was a big deal out there, and they treated us like royalty out there. I think there was 10 of us that actually went out, and when I came back, I was sort of shocked at the response of the community. People thought it was a waste of money. Why are we doing this? But there was a real need to build this sister relationship. Somebody had once said, that's how you build world peace, by two cities at a time. And then the tsunami hit 6 months later in March of 2011, and the auction was going on at the time. And the studio was already set up, and a couple of us just said,
studio right here,
right here at PAC TV.
Right.
I said, why don't we put on a telethon and see what we can come up with? You and I hosted that event. It came together within 2 weeks from amazing people putting this together, particularly the folks here at PAC TV putting this all together, folks from Rotary, and everyone came together, and we ended up raising over $100,000 from that telethon. We had Governor Patrick call in, we had Therese Murray here, we had all sorts of people here. Congressman Keating. It was tremendous community support, and that solidified the relationship at that point. Then people got it. They got why there's such a need for a sister-city relationship, like Shishigahama, like Plymouth, UK.
And how was Shishigahama affected by that?
They were, the casualties were, although they had some casualties, a few dozen, it could have been a lot worse. There are a city of 23,000 people. When we were there for 7 days, and it was over a weekend. There was one Sunday that we ended up going to the local fire department, because we had the police chief, fire chief were there, and some other dignitaries. And they apologized to us. It was at like 10 o'clock in the morning. And they were apologizing because there weren't many people there. There weren't many staff there, not many firefighters there, because they were out at their monthly disaster training. They have been training for this tsunami for several years.
Wow.
Somehow they're able to predict, every so many years, and I think it was like every 20 years or something. There's a cycle with the ocean and all this other stuff. So they knew it was coming. They knew it. They didn't know the magnitude, but they knew it was going to be coming. So they've been preparing for this, and I think because of all that preparing they were doing all those years, that helped lower the casualties. Of course, the property damage was, in the millions. Half the city was wiped out, and they have trash piled up that will, last 30 years because they don't know what to do with it all. But they're recovering. They're resilient people. They came back not too long ago, gave us an update, basically saying they're open for business. They want people to come back to the area, and it was just, and that's what that's all about. I mean, they just, were thrilled with the money that we sent to them. They wanted to be sure they're reporting on what they've done with the money, and just give us the progress. And it was just.
Now, did they actually evacuate?
They evacuated. They don't have a lot of time to evacuate, though. Once that horn goes off, it's less than 30 minutes you have. But again, all the people were, they had been training for this, so they knew where to go, the higher hills, and where to go. The mayor. The mayor to this day the mayor and the vice mayor lost their homes, and neither one of them are in homes yet. Their goal is to make sure everyone else gets permanent housing, and they'll be the last ones that will get permanent housing.
Like the captain of the ship.
You got it. Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that your daughter works in childcare, and tell us a little bit about Crayon College.
Crayon College is a business that myself and my business partner Cindy Morgan started back in 2004. Both of us worked for Evanswood Center for Older Adults in Kingston, right down the street from Silver Lake High School. Back in, let's see, I was there in '97, and I left in 2002, and Cindy came in, I think, in 2000. Part of that program, that we had a nursing home, an assisted living, an adult day program, independent living, and a child daycare center. And I hired Cindy in 2000 or 2001 to be the program director of the daycare center. It was only, I think, 35 kids. It was originally set up to be for the employees. However, the employees didn't take advantage of it as much, so it was more the community that actually took advantage of the program. And Cindy was the director. I got to know her. Then left in 2002. My role there as executive director of that campus was to sell it from the nonprofit. It was the American Baptist Elder Ministries who actually owned the campus, and they wanted out. They wanted out for 3 years. So my role was to help sell the campus. So we did. We sold it to Wingate, and soon after I left, when Wingate took over, and Cindy Morgan left as well because they decided they didn't want the child daycare program anymore. And at the time, Chris and I, Alexis was about 6 months old. So Cindy came in and helped us out. She was our nanny for Alexis to kind of help us out, you know. And then a couple of years later, we started talking about it. She had been involved in child care for, at that point, almost 30 years. And, you know, from everything from a teacher all the way up to a director to a regional director. She worked for some of the bigger companies, Kindred and a couple other ones. So she knows the operations. And I know the financial part of it. So we said, why don't we form a company and open one? And her husband at the time has since passed, Jim, helped us with the seed money to start it. And we opened up 24 Main Street in the summer of 2004. And I'm happy to say that it's a 54, has 54 kids, and it stays full all the time. We opened a second one.
And that's in Kingston.
That's in Kingston, yeah. We opened a second one in Stoughton in 2006. We have since sold that one.
And that one in Kingston's right near the Plymouth line.
Right on the Plymouth line, on 24 Main Street on the Kingston-Plymouth line, yeah, up the street from Jiffy Lube. And then we opened Nix Rock Road, I think in 2008 or 2009, and just moved over a year and a half ago to South Meadow Road. So we're on 109 South Meadow Road in Plymouth now. So, and that program's, you know, it's like 70% occupied now, and it's still growing, so it's going well.
And what age children?
They start from 6 weeks, and we can go all the way up to 8 years old. But usually, you know, it's usually infants, toddlers, and preschool. We also have a kindergarten program that we have in the West Plymouth one too.
And is that a half day or a full day?
Full day.
Full day kindergarten.
Yeah.
So for people that have children that would go to a half day program public school, they could go to a full day.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's very helpful. I mean, I remember when my son was kindergarten age and we had twin girls at home. It was very helpful. And we also thought, from an educational point of view, that was a good idea. And so we had him in a full-day program, and I think that was very helpful in terms of his educational
I'll tell
training.
you, when the kids go to the elementary schools, and I've had teachers tell me this, they say we can always tell when they come from Crayon College,
Right.
because it's an educational component that they get. It's just not, you know, let's play all day. Even the younger ones, it's still about learning as you're a toddler, as you're a preschool as well. It's always about learning and what you can do better, and and working together with other kids and all that. So they can always tell the difference, which is nice compliment. And that's Cindy. I mean, she's doing the day-to-day. I do the financial stuff in the background. She does the day-to-day stuff with her directors. So we got two fabulous directors. They're just wonderful. We have very low turnover of the staff. We give them good benefits, and they treat us well. We treat them well. It's just really good.
What happens when school's not in session? In other
Snow
words,
days, you mean?
Or no, when public schools are not in session during the school year, what do you do in the summer?
Oh, we're open we're open every day, Monday through Friday. yeah. And even some of the holidays are open too. I think like Columbus Day we don't close, or some of the holidays we don't. But yeah, no. Even snowstorms. A lot of times the schools will close, but we'll still be open during a snowstorm because parents still have to work.
Sure.
Unless it's a major snowstorm and the whole state's shut down. But yeah, so.
So we talked a little bit about your background, but now the reason you were invited to be on this show is you're a candidate for state rep in the upcoming November election. So why did you decide to run?
Steve, I think it's, I believe everything is about timing and being at the right place at the right time. I think, that's what happened with me, for running selectman. I just happened to be at the right place at the right time on the finance committee. And this is the same thing. Senate President Therese Murray has decided that, 22 years and she's going to step aside and she wants to do something else with her life, and she's done a great job here in Plymouth. And then Vinny has been on the state rep in this area for 16 years, so he decided he wants to try to go for that seat, and he's doing a great job with his campaign. And so it left this opening, and Chris and I talked about it early on. And anytime we make these decisions, we kind of do it together as a family. And we looked at the pros and cons of it, and there really weren't any cons to it. Everything was pro. Had discussion with Vinny about it, and just what's the job entail, the timing, and all that. And everything just kind of fell into place. And by January, we decided, let's go for this, and made the announcement. I think it's sometime in February, and pulled the papers and got the signatures and had the kickoff. The kickoff was delayed. It was supposed to be in April, but unfortunately, Officer Malone passed away suddenly, and it was that week, and we postponed it, and then had the kickoff in May, and it was an unbelievable event. We had about close to 250 people at the Elks Club. A far cry from my kickoff event as selectman back in 2010 when I think we had 50 people, if that. Yeah. But no, it was just great. It was, support from all sides. It's, one of the things that, I've always tried to do is try to bring people together from all sides. It doesn't matter to me if you're Republican, you're Democrat, Libertarian, whatever. It's about the work. It's about trying to work together. And, that's something that I've been emphasizing throughout this campaign. And that's, if I'm fortunate to be elected, that's exactly what I'm going to keep doing. And that's what Vinny did, and I will keep doing that as well.
How would you describe your relationship now as selectman with Senate President Terry Murray, as well as some of the other local elected Democrats like Treasurer Tom O'Brien, and we also have other county officials, John Buckley, Registry of Deeds.
Matter of fact, I was at a dinner last night with Tom O'Brien, so we had dinner with him last night. Tom O'Brien and I have been friends since 95, 96. We played softball together back in the Hanover, Rockland days, and we were talking about that last night.
Same team?
Same team. We're on the same team, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was he a good player?
He was, yeah. He was. He was.
What about you?
Well, according to Tom, I was the star outfielder.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. So I think
Does that mean you could hit too?
Yeah, I could hit all right. I could hit all right. Okay. I could hit all right. But yeah. Tom's a good friend. Tom Calter's my hero as a Democrat. I've been telling people this. Anybody who can run as a Democrat and a Republican and win the primary on both, that guy's a hero to me. Tom Calter was actually the guy that helped me. It really inspired me to actually come up with the guiding principles for the town. He gave a speech on town meeting floor one year that talked about civility, and it just made a lot of sense to me.
And we had a retreat once with him too.
Yes, we did the retreat because of that. Exactly right. Yeah. So again, Senate President has always been very respectful and very good to me personally, to my family, but also to the town of Plymouth. And I've always said that it shouldn't matter what side you're on. It's about working together. And I know, there are some people who have been, some of the elder people who have been in politics or at least have been voting all these years. It's hard for them to break away from, if they're a Democrat or Republican, and just crossing that line. But I'll tell you, I know I've seen it a lot over the last month and a half, that I'll have Democrats coming up to me and saying, "I've never done this before, but I'm going to vote for you. I'll take a sign and put it on my lawn," and it's killing them to do it. But you know what? I think it's because I don't see you as a Democrat or Republican. I see you as, let's work. You got some brains. Let's work together. Let's figure out what the issue is and solve it.
Right, Matt, and don't forget, I'm a Democrat.
I know, I know.
But we've worked together over the years.
We have, yeah. I appreciate what you've done.
So, Matt, what do you see as some of the issues right now facing the constituents for your? Well, first of all, let's talk about the area. You run town-wide. This is a little bit less than the town of Plymouth.
It's less than town-wide, yeah.
What's the area? Describe the area.
Okay, so there are 15 precincts in Plymouth. Precinct 1, which is North Plymouth, that belongs to Tom Coulter. Precincts 11 and 13, which is part of West Plymouth, by the airport, that is Tom Coulter. And then Precinct 9, which is the Buttermilk Bay area, South Plymouth, is Randy Hunt. So it's basically everything in the middle belongs to the 1st Plymouth District, which I think is like 40,000 people, less than 40,000, something like that. So that's what the district is. So yeah, it's kind of funny. It's less than being a selectman. As a selectman, you cover the whole town. But yeah, so I think the biggest thing I think facing all of us still is really the economy and jobs, and that's something that I kind of talk about a lot. And as a small business owner, I can kind of relate to that. You know, trying to make a payroll every week, trying to deal with the high costs of health care and how to do that for employees and how do we pay for it as a small business. So I think there's, that element is still out there with people. You hear that a lot. You hear it, with people saying, because of that, the taxes are too high. What can we do to help them? And whatever we can do to help, I think, small businesses kind of grow and get more people to work. I believe anybody who is able to work should be working, and we should have a responsibility to try to do that. So I think that's the globally, I think that's the biggest thing. I think more directly related to us is the 400th anniversary of the Pilgrim's Landing in Plymouth. I think the committee, the 400th Inc. committee that we have with the executive director, with Michelle and some other staff they have, and Brian McGuire chairing that, they're doing some fantastic things. And I think as a government, we need to help them get some more funding. I know Terry Murray was instrumental in Vinny getting them some money over the last couple of years, and we need to kind of do that and kind of help them grow a little bit, maybe try to get some federal money to try to help as well. But there's going to be a big celebration that's not just about a party. It's about the economic development that's going to happen out of that and what's going to happen years after that as well. Tourism has obviously become the #1 industry we have in Plymouth, and it's only growing in leaps and bounds. And this anniversary is only going to help cement that even after 2020.
And you mentioned earlier about your involvement in some of the local business groups. We didn't talk about the chamber. In what way have you had contact with the Plymouth Area Chamber of Commerce?
Both Plymouth Rehab and Crown College are both members of the chamber. The chamber has been instrumental over the years in helping grow businesses, and their after-hours programs they have every month at different locations has been instrumental in myself meeting people and getting to know people, and them getting to know me for both being a public official as well as for business, and even hosting events. I was able to host some events at both Crown College and at Plymouth Rehab over the years, and bringing people in. So it's a great organization for businesses, and I think it's really along with the Economic Foundation, I think they really helped build that tourism part of what Plymouth is all about.
So you think jobs is a #1 issue in
I believe
employment?
So, yeah.
What would be other issues?
I think I touched upon healthcare. I think healthcare is an issue for people. I know one of the things that I've been talking about a lot for a number of years is mental health, and I don't think we talk about that enough, although we're hearing a lot more about it now. I know the hospital just announced the other day a $3.7 million grant through the state for a Trot 2 grant is what it's called. It's for family behavioral health. Peter Holden, the president of the hospital, has been talking about this for a while now, and it's kind of come to fruition now that we're actually going to have primary care offices that are going to have a behavioral health component to it, and professionals that are going to be part of it to help deal with mental illness. It's okay to talk about mental illness or family
Absolutely.
behavior, whatever it is. Every time I speak about this campaigning, I'll have a few people that will come up to me and say, "Thank you for talking about it. I have mental illness," or my daughter does, or my husband does. And nobody wants to talk about it, but it's okay. It's like cancer 30 years ago. People didn't want to talk about it. They talked about the C word. They didn't want to call it cancer. It's okay. It is what it is. It's a disease like cancer, mental illness, but you can be treated. You can be treated, and you don't have to suffer alone anymore, because there's so many other people that are out there, whether it's depression, any sort of anxiety disorder, whatever it is, it can be treated. And I think, one of the things I've talked about before is on the campaign is actually taking the healthcare dollars in the state, and it's a large portion of the $36 billion budget in the state of the healthcare. It's almost half. What can we do to move some of that money around, to not just in grants, which is great, but what can we do to move that money, not add more money, but move it, and try to deal with mental health, behavioral health in people, because that's a root to a lot of problems. And if we can solve some of that or help with some of that, that will be a savings to the healthcare budget, I believe.
I'm wondering, because a number of years ago, I remember when at the state level, there were quite a few cutbacks in the mental health area, which resulted in people being discharged and let out in the streets, and people would often say that's the homeless population in part because they should be in some type of facility. So
Correct.
I'm wondering, in these times where there aren't a lot of extra funds, how do you translate this in terms of having more attention to it, and if the funds aren't there? Now, you mentioned healthcare and healthcare savings, so how do you make that work?
I think what you have to do is probably in the state level develop a commission of some sort to look at the healthcare dollars now, and then look at this whole mental health issue and see. And I know there's discussions going on about it, to see, okay, if we took dollars from here and put it here, how would that help save overall? If we could help resolve some of these issues here. And I think that's, by developing a commission to look at it first, I think that's the way to do it. And you get people around the room, again, I don't care if you're Republican or Democrats, that are smart, that can actually talk about it and get input from people in the community to see what's the best way to do this.
And I mentioned homeless, but yesterday, listening to the Sunday morning talk shows, there was discussion about terrorism versus healthcare versus mental health, because there was the recent Seattle or the Washington State shooting, and one of the victims died this morning. And the question is, when is it a terrorist, such as some of the things you had in Canada, the killings last week, or when is it a mentally ill person? And we've unfortunately seen in many of these cases, whether it's storming the White House or whatever it might be, that we do have people who are challenged with mental illness that end up doing these horrific crimes because they're not getting the right kind of treatment.
I personally believe that's exactly what it is. I don't think they just wake up one day and say, I'm going to be a terrorist. I think there's an underlying mental health issue there, and that people are finding it and exposing it and using it to their advantage to become terrorists. And I think that's another issue that's another way of, if you can get to the mental health issue, particularly at a young age, and start dealing with that, then you may have less terrorists as time goes on.
So, and the mental health is really a social issue. Any other social issues that come to mind as things that you'd want to address as a state representative?
I think if you can address the mental health issue, I think that kind of helps with a lot, like you mentioned, the homelessness. I think it helps, and we'll never eliminate it, but it kind of helps with those type of issues. The opiate epidemic that's happening with drugs, I think, in some cases, there's some disorder going on, particularly in the younger population, that's causing them to go and start taking drugs and doing this. And if you can help with that, I think that will help as well. But obviously, the opiate and the drug epidemic that's going on, it's not going away anytime soon. I understand there was another one, that overdose over the weekend again. Somebody died again, and the average age that we're seeing is about 30 years old. So it's not like it's young kids, although there are younger ones, but there are older ones as well. So we've got to, treatment. You talk about treatment centers. We've got to figure out how we can get treatment centers, some more treatment centers for people like this. They can't be waiting, for a week or 2 or 3 at a time before they can get into a treatment center. And a treatment center, they'll be effective. It's not a treatment center that they go in for 24 or 48 hours. It's got to be something more effective. And again, taking those healthcare dollars to help pay for some of this, I think, is the way to do it.
And we're taping this in Plymouth. You represent Plymouth right now as selectman. It happens right here.
Happens here. Rich, poor, it doesn't matter. There's no age discrimination to it. It's really sad what's happening. And every single week, it's a handful that are overdosing. And thank God that the fire and the police have the Narcan that they're using, and they're saving some lives as well. I mean, without that, we'd see more. But yeah, it's happening. It's happening everywhere, everywhere.
Any other issues coming before this community or this state that you see coming up?
No, I think just in this community, and I think the state, the budgets. I think we need to look to see how we can get more money to more local aid, to cities and towns. I think I've seen in the last 4.5 years I've been on the selectmen board that a lot of local aid every year it's a little bit less, a little bit less, a little bit less. And I think at the state level, I think that's one obligation they have is to try to get as much local aid into the cities and towns as possible. With that said, I also think that there needs to be some rethinking of how we do services in our cities and towns. As a selectman, I've been talking about regionalization and consolidation for a long time, but again, it has to come from the state level to try to help with cities and towns, maybe through county government, maybe through some other source of how to actually help with regionalization of things like, I know like in Plymouth County, we buy our police cars through the Plymouth County, which is great, but there needs to be more services like that we can try to regionalize and where we can save dollars. There's a lot of duplication of efforts happening in each town and city. Are there some cities and towns that can get together and do them effectively as one group instead of as separate cities and towns?
And you come to this realization really as having served on both the advisory and finance committee for the town of Plymouth and as selectman really for almost the past 10 years.
Yes. Yeah.
And I believe that our senator, Terry Murray, came to her position a little differently. I don't know that she was an elected official. Vinnie DiMacedo was a town meeting representative, was not a townwide official. So you come to this a little bit differently from the path that they followed.
Yeah, I think it's helpful for me at least. I don't think I could ever see myself doing this, and without having the background as finance committee and selectman. I just don't think I would do that at all. I think, but because I have this background, I think that kind of helps me.
So Matt, when you're not running for state rep or working at Plymouth Rehab or doing many other things you do, what do you do in your free time?
Well, as I said, I have 6 daughters, so trying to keep up with all their activities and events that they have, particularly on the weekends, is my hobby. And it's trust me, I look forward to it. My daughter Alexis had a flag football game on Saturday afternoon. It was a playoff game. I was looking forward to that, watching that game all week. So it's really getting involved with them and their activities. Of course, and taking vacations with them. But as much time as I can spend with them, I get great joy with being a family, and that's right. I mean, I will golf once in a while. We have tournaments. I'll golf in tournaments and things like that. But spending time with the family, that's really my hobby and what I really enjoy doing.
I can identify with that when my son was playing Babe Ruth baseball, and we would enjoy going to all the games. And when he stopped playing and kind of grew up, we said, what are we going to do? That was our social life.
Yeah.
We would go to these games and socialize with the other parents.
And I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I don't remember our parents coming out to these games and having a crowd of parents there. It was just, you got on your bike and you went to your game and you came back afterwards. But I'm so glad that to have the kids that I have and to be involved in everything they're involved in, so we can be a part of it.
When's the election, Matt?
The election is November 4th.
And when can people vote?
People can actually vote absentee now, but election day at 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Again, my election is between it's precincts 2 to 8, 10, 12, 14, and 15.
Quick soundbite. What do you want people to remember about your candidacy for state rep?
I will be a candidate that will listen to people and will get things done on Beacon Hill, and will work together with everybody.
Good. Matt Muratore.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Steve.
All right. Thank you for being here. This completes this edition of Plymouth Profiles. We'd like to thank you for being with us today with Mathew Muratore, who is a candidate for state representative for most of the precincts in the town of Plymouth. I'm Steve Trifletti. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to having you visit with us again when we profile someone from the greater Plymouth community. Good day.